Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am McAlphany. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you could, please click that like button, turn it into a rocket, and send it to the moon. So if you would permit me a little bit of time, I think I'm onto something interesting, very interesting. Central bank digital currencies, I don't believe that what they will be as an iteration coming out, I don't think that's where they'll end. And because of that, I don't think the money will end once the money that you can make. I don't think it's going to end once central bank digital currencies are rolled out. Of course, I firmly believe that life-changing wealth will be gained by many, many, many people. However, I think in the future, there will be another opportunity as there is a shift in technology depending on where they go. This is going to get interesting if you will just hear me out. Now, I started perceiving this when everyone from Denell Dixon to Brad Garlinghouse, I believe Brad Garlinghouse, to Silvio McCauley, a lot of individuals are talking about interoperability. Okay? We've all heard this. If you have an interoperable system of technology that is available, that an institution or a bank can take, and they're all superb iterations of that technology, like let's say XLM, XRP, algorand. As a central bank, you have enough funds to conscript people into your service who can take all of that technology and combine it together into something that is yours completely, a fail-proof system that is yours completely. One that is not necessarily a bunch of pieces, but one amalgamated mega system, one amalgamated system. That would be, in my opinion, the logical progression of central bank digital currencies. Instead of having this interoperable system, which is great as a starting mechanism, but instead of having this interoperable system, why not just take, in the future, this would take more time. So I understand the necessity to roll this technology out now because they need it now badly. The banks need this badly. They're doing very, very bad right now. They need something. They need some sort of booster. Now, that's a start. So you have algorand that can flow into XRP, XRP that can flow into XLM, so on and so forth. Okay, you throw cello in there. But in the future, wouldn't it be the logical progression to take those technologies that are free for anybody to use, have your team combine them all the best aspects of them, combine them all together, maybe have one for inflow, one for outflow, one for the security measure, whichever one's best at security. You take all the best aspects of them and you create an amalgamation. And then that is what this paper here that I found calls an MBDC. Now, I found this paper is quite interesting. It's a PDF. It was on a few websites, and I tried to research it a little bit more. I couldn't find anything. That's strange. However, this paper it's called Multi-Blockchain Central Bank Digital Currency, MBDC. Now, doesn't that sound a lot like the interoperable system that everyone's floating? Now, I want to also put something with that. Remember, I floated the idea that there's not enough algorand to cover all the banks in the world, right? All the money in the world, right? There's not enough XRP to cover everything. There's not enough XLM to cover everything. Okay, so when I'm saying that, I'm taking into account that they can be broken down into smaller parts, which are similar to what Satoshis are to Bitcoin, right? They can be broken down into smaller units, and the smaller units can be purchased. I'm taking that into account. But when you're looking at how much money, two things. When you're looking at how much money would have to float through those protocols, and you look at how central banks operate. If you just go by the document that we covered in the summer of the Bank of International Settlements, explaining clearly how they want to keep things simple. They want to keep things simple. They're not going to want to, in my humble opinion, going by what they've said themselves and how banks typically operate, they don't want a complicated system. They want to simplify the system. If they were going to use a complicated system, they would stick to Swift. They would stick to Swift. All right. They want to simplify things. I would imagine they just want to buy one XRP, two XRP, three, like they want to buy a whole. Instead of pieces, they would prefer a whole. So going by that and how much money they will be moving, it would be logical, I believe, that they will buy whole coins and that there's not enough. We're talking about trillions and quadrillions of dollars. There's not enough of these banking coins. Now, let me add in that, like I said before, I believe they left the door open for the legacy system to keep a little piece of, not a little piece, but I think in the future it will be a little piece of the market. But they planned all along, in my opinion, to have the interoperable system. They knew what was coming long ago. And this is why they're all comfortable with floating the idea of the interoperable system. I believe, it's my humble opinion, I could be wrong, I believe in the future that interoperable system will congeal. It will all come together. It won't be separate. It will all come together. Not in the way that it will be at first, where it seems separate and you have XRP, XLM, algorand. They will be indistinguishable. It will be one system because the banks are very intelligent. They will combine it all together. And that will be what ultimately will become the MBDC, the multi-blockchain digital currency. This paper here was written by a Hesun, Hesun, and it was published in 2017. So they were already floating the idea of a MBDC back in 2017. If I found this, I'm quite sure other brilliant minds that were onto blockchain at that time also were either thinking about this idea or saw this paper. Okay, it's the only paper I can find on MBDCs, which is the same as what they're talking about now with an interoperable system. It's the same. Now, also take into account that possibly a lot of other papers probably weren't written on this particular topic and utilizing that particular name, nomenclature of MBDC, because so many experts were conscripted into the services of the foundations, Stellar Foundation, Algorand Foundation, Ripple, Cello. They've conscripted so many. So now the terminology would become, because this is what they want to convey to everyone, the terminology would become necessarily an interoperable system, which I don't think is going to remain that. They're going to come up with a name that's much easier to use, I believe, but I could be wrong. But maybe that's why they didn't come out with more papers like this on multi-blockchain digital currencies, okay? Another key indicator, in my opinion, that CBDCs are not the end. It's not the end result. It's not the end goal, possibly. I could be wrong on this, but this is what I'm seeing, is the fact that, and I went here, let's see if I can pull this up. Just give me one moment, please. I went here. This is on atlanticcouncil.org. They do tracking of CBDCs and progression of CBDC rollouts. Okay, there are a few countries that are rolling out their CBDCs on Ethereum. Now, I don't stand really here or there on Ethereum. However, I looked at it and asked myself, what is the likelihood of a central bank switching from Ethereum to a superior technology based on the fact that the transactions per second, and I know you have layer 2 solutions and other solutions possibly you can add. Like I said, that's more complication. Banks don't want complication. They told you that in the BIS document that we covered. They have a lot of documents. You can go read them yourself. They don't want complication, so I don't perceive they want to continue to just add layers. But the transactions per second for Ethereum, it just doesn't make sense to have it as your central bank digital currency rails. Let me just pull this up for a moment. Give me one moment, please. Okay, so it says here, and I don't know if this is right. This is from Bloomberg.com. Bloomberg.com. So it's a reputable source. It says, and this is from August 14th, 2021. Correct me if I am wrong, really if they're wrong, but I'm going to go by their information because they're reputable. All right. Currently, Ethereum handles about 30 transactions per second. 30 transactions per second? What? Like, okay, so there's some speculation here. I had to pause for a moment. There's speculation from Vitalik that says that it could go up to, I guess they're going to do something in the future. This is what he's saying, that it could go up to 100,000 per second in the future. That's future, if it happens. If it happens, when we're talking, there's blockchain technologies right now that just blows 30 transactions out the water right now. So why would you build your central bank digital currency on a platform that can only handle 30 transactions per second? That makes no sense. We know that Swift alone, what did we say Swift was doing? 36 million transactions per day. I mean, I think that's what it was. You can watch the other video to get the accurate number. Don't quote me on that. But whatever it was it's unthinkable to have a rail that can only do 30 transactions per second to be the rails for your central bank digital currency. When, let's go here, I'm going to give you some more numbers, and I'm going to tell you what I think this means. Well, let me tell you first. I think it's possible they could switch technologies, okay? Then I'll give you the numbers for the other protocol. I think it's possible they start out with something popular to float the idea to everyone. It's more easily digestible if you tell your nation, hey, you know Ethereum that you all love and making money from, we're going to roll out our CBDC on Ethereum. Don't you like that? Everyone says yes, they accept the CBDC. Later on, the people or banks can convey how inefficient it has become. They need to improve. Then they can switch, either upgrade or they can switch to a different blockchain that can do much more transactions per second. Now let's go here. HBAR. Let's just take HBAR. I should have done HBAR last, right? HBAR is capable Hedera hash graph. Okay, it's a crypto we don't talk about often, but I've known about for a long time. As of late, they've been extremely impressive. With the deals they're doing, they've been extremely impressive. And they have some things locked up for CBDCs as well. I mean, they have some things in tow to do CBDCs as well. So you can't leave them out. And they're becoming a great force when it comes to CBDCs. All right. So, but Hedera alone does 10,000 transactions per second. How do you choose Ethereum over HBAR? If you're a bank, how do you choose Ethereum 30 transactions per second versus HBAR 10,000 transactions per second? Now, if HBAR is not good enough for you, let's go to XRP. XRP handles 1,500 transactions per second. It's mind-blowing. It's not as mind-blowing as Hedera, but that's mind-blowing. Once again, XRP handles 1,500 transactions per second. Let's go back to Ethereum. Ethereum handles 30, according to Bloomberg, 30 transactions per second. How do you choose Ethereum? And I'm not Ethereum bashing. Ethereum does a lot of amazing things. It's going to continue to make people a lot of money. I'm looking at central bank digital currencies because it's the big money. We need to understand where things are going in this chess game so we know where to make the money in the future. Where's this big money coming from in the future? We know where it's going to come from the outset, like when they first begin it. But is there money to be made in the future? We can start planning now. So that's why it's important to do this type of research and look at the data, and you can kind of see a pathway being woven. And if another idea I'll float, if everyone's comfortable with an interoperable system, doesn't it lend credence to what I said before, that there's enough money for everybody? Stellar's not worried. They're not concerned. They keep talking about interoperable system. XRP's not worried. They're talking about an interoperable system. Although they do have a ton of banks they're doing deals with. Algorand's not worried. They're talking about an interoperable system. So an interoperability. So no one is worried, which tells you what? For them to be successful, they understand to continue on the path that they're on, and that there's enough money for everybody. You don't need to be a maximalist. There's enough money for everybody. But looking at these transactions per second, how does a central bank choose to build their CBDC on Ethereum unless, in my humble opinion, unless it's possible to switch over to a new technology? I don't know what their memorandums of understanding are like. I don't know what their contracts are like. I don't know. I tried to search for it. I could find nothing. I'll continue to search. If I find something, I will bring it to everyone. I couldn't find anything on the length of these contracts that were signed, right? Because they have certain companies that are building the technology for them. I couldn't find anything, which makes sense, but I'm going to still try, right? Maybe we can get some time periods here, and then we have a little bit more to work with in our speculations, right? In our predictions, in our meticulous research that we're trying to do here. But unless you can switch over, I don't understand how that's viable. That's not a viable path. Now, what makes that an important thought to mull over is what I was saying before about MBDCs. So they can start out, if you can switch from Ethereum to HBAR, XRP, XLM in the future, right? Or the interoperable system, you can start utilizing a combination of those. Then it also means that you could switch over from a CBDC to an MBDC, a multi-blockchain digital currency. One digital currency that is an amalgamation, an amalgamation of all of them. But it will take time. It would take time. And I think that's why they're not going to just start with an MBDC. They need to roll out something now to patch up the holes in the system. The system is leaking badly. They need something right now. And so what they're going to roll out is good enough for right now. It's good enough for right now. But in the future, they need to do a little bit more, right? There needs to be advancement. Always there needs to be advancement. And I believe that's where an MBDC would come in. A multi-blockchain digital currency. Let's look at XLM transactions per second. So we have XLM claims, this is from fool.com. XLM claims to be able to handle up to 3,000 transactions per second. 3,000. How do you choose Ethereum with 30 transactions per second to run your CBDC? Like I said, I know about layer 2 solutions. I know about these other solutions, but they don't want complication. How do you pick that? We have all of these other technologies that you can use without having to go through anybody. You don't have to go through anyone to use Stellar. You can just start using it. But you choose Ethereum with 30 transactions per second. Unless you know something that we don't have a plan, this is how you float it to your nation. Hey, Ethereum, remember it? Remember Ethereum? You guys like it? Here's your CBDC. They accept it, and then you work that into something else later that would have been more less acceptable to the public from the outset. You get what I'm saying? Cello. I don't think Cello put up their transactions per second. I don't think I could find that, but that's okay. So I'm saying that to say this. I just wanted to float the idea that even though it's far into the future, that keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. Continue to do your research. I don't think that the money that you'll make, even though it could be life-changing, could be unbelievable amounts of money that can be made if CBDCs are rolled out according to plan. But I don't think that's it. And I almost forgot. I think that's why They don't, I don't think the banks really care about who's going to become a millionaire or billionaire. There's so much more money that's going to be made by them. That's nothing to them. And I think that the biggest money will be made. Possibly. I could be wrong. This might never happen. May never happen. I acknowledge that, but it's something that I'm thinking. And it seems like it might be where all of this is leading with the interoperable system. The biggest money that has ever been made, I believe, ever would be made by the banks with the utilization and implementation of a multi-blockchain digital currency. By that time, if they were to price everyone out, if they were to buy all of the banking coins up, buy them all up, whether it's the government or the central banks, they wouldn't have to worry about retail investors getting any of that money anyway. They wouldn't have to worry about it. All the retail investors would have been convinced CBDCs were it. That was the big one. And it might be insanely big. But all along, maybe retail investors didn't look far enough into the future to see there was something else coming. They were blinded by everything else. All the meme coins. No hate on the meme coins. Make your money. No problem. Get your money where you can. As long as it's legal, get your money where you can. They were blinded by Bitcoin and Ethereum. Make your money. No problem. But what if you're being blinded by those things and not seeing what is to come? The biggest money ever. So what happens for the few who, yeah, you take some profits, but you staked your coins, right? And you weren't willing to give them up should the banks try to price you out, right? And you still had a few. You still had a few coins. What happens if they roll out the multi-blockchain digital currency? The one that actually will handle all of the money by design, because the bank said so, not because a private company said so. That doesn't make sense. A private company doesn't control what the banks are going to do. And they would never allow that. They can work with them. They can give them respect, but they don't have to do anything. They're the banks. You need the banks. The private company needs the banks. The banks don't necessarily need the private company. However, the banks can dictate that this that we control here, this that we made, we took everything from all the good companies and we made this Frankenstein coin, the MBDC. The MBDC is what we have now chosen as banks to cover all of the money. And those people they won't live like kings, right, on earth. And that's not what they want. They already live like kings and queens. No. And I mean, no offense to anyone by this. They will experience what it is to live like gods. And anybody who, if the opportunity arose, and somehow those holders of the banking coins, right? They had a few left because you're going to take massive profits. You're going to be, let's say you're rich, you're filthy with wealth, right? But you still had a few coins. Let's say there's for some reason, you still were able to make some money off of those coins as the MBDCs are rolled out, because for some reason, those technological codes, those protocols still were kind of floating in the system, even though they become an integral part of that MBDC. Still, you're able to benefit because you have them. And because it can't be erased, that particular type of code is part of the protocol. You would make so much money. Theoretically, you would make so much money. I said this before. I'll say it again. You probably would make so much money, you would drop dead just from seeing the amount. I could be wrong, but think about it for just a moment. Let that just let that just roll through your mind for a moment. Interoperable system. If a central bank ever switches to a new technology from, let's say, from Ethereum to HBAR, Ethereum to XRP, Lithuania is running is piloting their CBDC on Ethereum. If you want to just keep track of one bank that is doing that, right? But let's say they ever change, it sets the precedent that they could change to another technology anytime they want, which means that they could bring everything together on their own. By the way, they don't have to go through Ripple or Stellar Foundation. By then, they've done enough research to know how this technology works on their own to come up with something sufficient and efficient on their own. And that's where the MBDC could possibly come in. Multi-blockchain digital currency. All the money. Don't get me wrong, the interoperable system can cover not that it can cover all the money, it will cover as much money as it can. Simple as that. That's enough. It will cover as much money as it can. That's enough. But the MBDC that is run by the banks and put out by the banks, made by the banks, a conglomeration, an amalgamation, that one would cover literally all of the money. So just a little bit of looking forward. And I hope you found this interesting. I found this extremely interesting. I know it's not our typical type of thing to do on the channel. However, it was very interesting. I saw that document and my wheels got to spinning. And so here we are. So thank you for watching. Now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, let's get to the money.